was an expert funeral attendee by the age of 9. I can vividly remember multiple occasions where I was standing in a room crowded by crying grown-ups and a dead body while wearing shoes that made my feet hurt. By 21, I was a grief maven. I had no living grandparents, no aunts, and no uncles. But none of that would prepare me for the experience I had at 32 when I became a widow. Craig and I had built the picture-perfect life for ourselves. We had just recently found our dream home. I had a blossoming career, and we had a bright future ahead of us. But all of that came crashing down in November of 2020. You see, Craig and I had been dealing with an orthopedic injury that he had been suffering from for a few months. And unfortunately, due to a misdiagnosis, urgent spinal surgery became necessary. The procedure went better than expected, and we were simply waiting for him to heal and come home. So we were kind of in this weird holding pattern, but we found a rhythm that would get us through for the next few weeks. That fateful Tuesday started the same as every other. The kids went to school, and I went to work. Then my phone rang unexpectedly. "We need you to come to the hospital." The doctor was so calm, I couldn't even understand what he was saying. Craig was in cardiac arrest. We had just spoken 90 minutes before. How was any of this real? I raced to the hospital. I was in a frenzy when I got there. And they stuck me in this separate little waiting room that was more like a closet with a chair in it. I sat there for what felt like hours, agonizing over every possible scenario, except one. Finally, they take me to see him, and they lead me down the longest hallway of my life. My insides are on fire. The voice in my head is screaming. We reach the end of the hallway, and the doctor comes out to greet us, and in one fluid motion, she pushes open the curtain, exposing the mayhem that's happening. She begins to explain what's happening, and I can see her mouth moving, but everything sounds like I am underwater. All I see is Craig. He's intubated. And there's a chest compression machine violently forcing his body to perform in a way it clearly does not want to. I watched in horror as they tried to revive my husband, praying that he would come back to me. But it was too late, and I heard those 3 words. All of the chaos was suddenly silent. And as I sat there watching him slowly turn gray, I found myself asking, what in the hell am I supposed to do now? In the days and weeks following Craig's death, there was so much to do, and not enough of me to do it in. It felt as if there simply was no time to grieve. When you find yourself in this position, you are suddenly expected to become an expert in funeral planning and finances and legal issues. You either have time to grieve or time for bereavement. These 2 words have become interchangeable, but they are, in fact, very different things. Grief is the emotional and chemical response to a loss, while bereavement is the legal and financial process that occurs after a death. And this space where grief and bereavement overlap is a blind spot for many. This space I now refer to as grievement. Grief takes over your body like a parasite, from short-term memory loss and cognitive dysfunction to physical aches and pains. Grief literally interrupts our capacity to function normally. This erodes our sense of self-worth and our sense of identity, and it makes it near impossible to maintain social relationships. I'm going to give you the secret to navigating grievement. But before I do, I would like to share with you a piece of advice that I wish someone had shared with me. Take a moment and think about the last time you were on an airplane. Your flight crew gives a brief safety demonstration, and this usually includes tips like placing your own oxygen mask before helping others. This same concept applies to grievement. You must place your own oxygen mask first. What do I mean by that? A comprehensive estate plan is the most effective way to care for someone when you die. There are 3 core benefits to an estate plan. First, an estate plan allows you the control to designate administrators, or the people you trust to make decisions when you're gone. This ensures that the financial needs of your family are carried out. Second, it reduces the financial burden that your family will ultimately face. There are probate, state, and federal taxes that are due when you die, and this accounts for that large expense. And last and most importantly, it allows you the peace of mind to name a guardian should the unthinkable happen. An estate plan cuts hours out of the already limited time we have for bereavement. The national average of bereavement leave is just 3 days. I was lucky enough to get 5. And when that ridiculous 5 days was over, that to-do list was still as long as that hospital hallway. All of the things that have to be done in person and by you and during business hours, which coincidentally happens to be exactly when you have to be at work. It is like being waterboarded with gasoline. The average estate plan is only about $1,500. Had Craig and I paid that nominal fee, I wouldn't have ended up a squatter in my own home. The Grief Recovery Institute found that 25% of the United States workforce is suffering from active grief. Active grief are the intense grief feelings that we feel that do the most disruption to our day-to-day living, and that usually occurs within the first 6 months after loss. We must put the human back into HR. The CDC reports that $225 billion are lost every year as a result of mismanaged leave. Mismanaged leave can include things like employees calling out, extra time off, and even voluntary resignation. But it also includes the things like sourcing, hiring, and training replacement staff. $225 billion. Think about that for a moment. Grief directly connects to an employee's ability to do their job. But bereavement directly connects to the key performance indicators within a business. What if we were to reallocate some of that $225 billion? What if we were to expand the runway of bereavement, even by just a few days? What benefits could we gain? If we look at countries like France and Portugal and Canada, who all recently have updated their bereavement leave policy to be inclusive of up to 20 days in some circumstances, we can see that there's a global shift happening in the way that we understand how grief and bereavement are connected. We gain the benefits by altering our offerings of increased employee engagement, of increased retention metrics, and improved company culture. But better than all of that, We get a world rooted in empathy. In an era where forward-thinking companies are reimagining their health and wellness programs for their employees, reimagining how you approach bereavement could be the key to success. A strong bereavement policy communicates to your employees that they are invested in should the unthinkable happen, the same way that they invest in you every day. And companies that invest in their employees like that are the shining example of the difference between managers and leaders. Someone you love is going to die. That is an inevitable. And we all act like it is much further down the road until something happens that forces us to see the blind spots. I invite you all to take a look at the landscape in front of you, to see where the blind spots are for you. You have the knowledge and the power now. Let's work together to navigate grievement, and let's put the human back into human resources.